Hey guys, it's M4J here, and welcome to what hopefully will be a short update video. Just me telling you guys where I've been for the last few weeks, because things have gone a little bit quiet on the M4J front. So I feel like I owe you guys a little bit of an explanation as to what's been going on. Full disclaimer, this is the third time I've tried to record this video, and hopefully I've got it right this time. I've actually made a list of notes, and I'll probably be reading it word for word, just so that I don't mess up and have to start again, because I don't have the time to keep recording different versions of this. Which kind of brings me on to my first point. So, where have I been? Well, as I'm sure some of you might have noticed, if you watch my live streams, you'll notice a new logo has appeared in the top corner of the screen. Since May 2018, I've been a director, not just an employee, but a director of an independent games developer called X-Vision Interactive. My role within the company is digital promotions and marketing director. So any social media posts, any digital promotional activity that you see from XVI would have gone through me. And I know that sounds very official and very formal, and that's not like me, but I do take that role quite seriously. But being part of a company like XVI, and especially being a director, means a lot of my time has been devoted to running the company, producing content for the YouTube channel, and also attending meetings, most of which sort of come at very short notice. But all of this means that my time for M4J has decreased. Excuse me, I've got a cold as well. I'll talk about that in a little bit. There's a lot of behind the scenes work that goes on with XVI that no one really knows about outside of the company. I can't really talk too much about that for obvious reasons, but like I said, unexpected meetings do happen quite a lot. There's a lot of company setting up stuff that's going on at the moment. It's all very official, and it all has to be done by the book. So basically what I mean is my time is pretty much entirely devoted to XVI right now. It's not quite a 9 to 5. I work part-time for XVI at the moment, but the time that I was spending sort of refining and producing content for M4J has now been siphoned off to XVI. Again, sorry, frog in the throat. The channel M4J isn't going anywhere. This isn't like me saying I'm going to quit YouTube or anything like that. Far from. It's just me saying I will have less time to produce content for M4J for the foreseeable future, just while XVI gets going and off the ground. That kind of leads me on to the second point, which is the XVI podcast. You will have seen me, if you follow me on Twitter or Facebook, you will have seen me posting tweets and updates and statuses about the XVI podcast. As the digital promotions marketing director for XVI, and again that sounds like a very official title, I personally prefer the term community manager, although again that doesn't quite cover all the bases for what I do. But we have a weekly podcast, XVI. We discuss a wide range of subjects. We mostly focus on the gaming industry. For example, the first podcast that we had was whether gaming companies aren't allowed to take risks anymore, because some game developers are being sued by consumers for supposedly misleading customers, along with a myriad of other slightly controversial topics that are going on at the moment. It does get a little bit more lighthearted towards the end. We talk about radioactive cars, the fact that they used to put plutonium in toothpaste, that kind of fun stuff. The second one was a Minecraft video. We were talking about potential Let's Play series as well as games that we were playing at the time. Third podcast is all about our history of gaming. So first game consoles, first game we remember playing, that kind of thing. The XVI podcast is important to me because I am the host and the editor. So you'll hear my lovely dulcet tones on every podcast, as well as if you're a fan of my editing style, which you never know, some people might be. In particular, the XVI podcast is a good series to check out because I really do put my heart and soul into editing that series. That does mean, though, like I said, a lot of my time goes into XVI in terms of running the company, and what time I have left does sort of go towards editing the XVI podcast. So I'm just trying to catch up with my notes. Podcasts that involve our avatars, so the first one and the third one, and also the fourth one, which should be released this Friday. They can take up to 3 days to edit, and it might sound a bit ridiculous when I say that because it is literally just our faces on a background with our logo. But I kind of took the decision at the very start to make our faces light up. So if I'm talking, my face lights up. If Ben's talking, his face lights up. I should probably tell you this about the XVI team as well. So there's myself. Ben is our CEO. You'll remember him from my Tabletop Simulator streams. Kurt is our COO and also our Chief Creative Director. You'll remember him from the M4J Racing Series, as well as also M4J Game Nights with the Tabletop Simulator. Alex is Merchandise Director. You'll also remember him from the M4J Racing Series, as well as the Tabletop Simulator streams. I think he was there for those. And then we have Sakif, who is our Legal and HR Director. Who have I forgotten with the directors? I think that's all of them. And we have Dylan, who is our... I've got to remember his official title. Creative Consultant, I think, is his official title. But he's kind of, I mean, I call him the jack of all trades, which doesn't really do it justice. He helps out in all departments, essentially. He's kind of the thing that keeps the company ticking over. But we are all, at various points on the podcast, and at various points, all of our faces have to light up. That takes 3 days to make all that happen. And that's working for at least 5 hours a day. Particularly an hour-and-a-half podcast, which episode 3 was, that took 5 days to edit. So there's a lot of work that goes into these videos, and again, that encroaches on my M4J content creation time. I'll talk about my own channel and the time it takes to make videos for that in a second. The other problem is the summer is almost here. We are about to enter May, and my desktop computer, which edits all my videos and renders them all for me, has already started its annual overheating season. So, normally during the winter I can render 3 videos no problem, and it actually keeps my room nice and warm in December. But in April and May time, it cooks itself, and I don't want that to happen. So realistically, I can only edit and render 1 video at a time at the moment. So all my time is editing the XVI podcast, because currently that is kind of the priority. And again, I hope you guys understand, you know, running a business. Technically, I'm running 2 businesses, M4J and helping run XVI. One will always have to prioritize the other, and currently I'm choosing to prioritize the one I feel is more likely to reap rewards. And again, I'll talk about that in a little bit. Once I managed to find a new way to refine the XVI video editing process, so for example, one of the ideas I have is to make our faces light up as we speak rather than having to do it in editing. A bit like if you're on a Skype call or a Discord call. I know Skype's quite old-fashioned and fossilized these days, but back in the day, whoever was speaking, their little avatar lights up. That's the kind of thing I want to implement for XVI, and I'm going to look into seeing if that's possible. Once I manage to find ways to refine the editing process, I will have more time to devote towards M4J again. The next point is family. Last year, I graduated from university, and M4J was an escape from that, basically, because my final year project was a website, the M4J Media website, which still needs to be updated, I know, particularly as I've changed my Twitter handle since then, so my Twitter feed is not up to date. And there's all kinds of other things that's just not very good about that website. So I will be updating it in the near future with all the features that I did promise you guys nearly a year ago now, as well as a few other things. But one of the things I forgot to do when I graduated was actually make a conscious effort to spend more time with my friends and my family. So, since December, you could kind of call it a New Year's resolution, although I don't really buy into that concept, but I've been making more of an effort to take weekends off. So I might still play games with my friends. You might still, if you follow me on Steam, you might see me on a variety of different games. But I'm not recording. I'm always just playing for fun. And that's very important, is knowing when to take time off and when not to. I've been doing lots of different family things as well this year. I've been going to more football matches again, which is really, really great. I've actually started being a Newcastle fan again, believe it or not. I've been up to St James's Park to watch them drag out a 0-0 draw with Fulham, let's say. And I was also at the Emirates recently, which was a really, really good night. So I'm enjoying the fact that I can take some time off from time to time. And again, you might think, well, if I've got time to take time off, why haven't I got time to make videos? As I've just said, it's actually important to take time off, because you do end up stressing yourself out and getting a bit worked up over things. And again, I'll talk about that in a second. So, as I've said, this year things are different. I will work on content from Monday to Friday, but over the weekend I will not be at my desk for video editing or anything like that. I might sometimes do a live stream, because particularly if I live stream on YouTube, the work's already done. Like the video's recorded, edited, uploaded, and all that kind of thing whilst I'm streaming, which is great. I really like that feature. But besides that, I won't be at my desk at all. Next up, Patreon. This is the subject that I least wanted to talk about, but I think it's also the subject that needs to be talked about the most. Sadly, there's been a misunderstanding with the use of my Patreon. My Patreon was originally set up for two reasons, and I am reading directly from my screen now, so it's probably going to sound like I am reading from a script, and that's entirely because I am. So my Patreon was set up for two reasons. The first one is to offer a way for my viewers to show their continued support and for me to earn a small amount of money. I'm not going to hide from that. Money's important. You know, I'm an ex-university student now. I'm out in the big wide world, and I should technically be earning a living wage. Patreon really was, particularly the content creation side of Patreon, it is set up as a way for an audience to show their support towards a content creator financially. You know, there's the whole moral support, tap on the back, say well done, good video. But financially, these things aren't cheap. Editing software, for example, costs £300 minimum for decent editing software, which a lot of people don't seem to realise actually. Back in the early days of my channel, I used Windows Movie Maker, but now I don't. I use much more expensive software. So a little bit of a financial return is not a bad thing, and again, I'm never going to hide from that. The other reason is to allow viewers to get more involved with the channel. And again, I'll talk about this again in a second, but the whole point of my Patreon is people who support the channel can show it in a financial way, but also if people want to get involved, they have to, again, I have to choose the words very carefully. I might just stick to the script, actually, because the script does explain it next. So I'll just read from the screen. The Patreon tiers were designed to reflect how much I valued my time. People can pledge their support, and in return I applied the rewards that they chose. I made the mistake of telling one patron that they could design new service schedules for their chosen franchise in the M4J network. At the time, I figured time would go by before I received an email with some drawn up ideas that I could read through one evening and choose the best ones to use. Instead, I received almost hourly comments or posts on my Reddit community with ideas, designs and amendments. Basically, this took up almost 3 hours per day, reading through and responding. And the key thing here is I could have just ignored these posts, but I don't like ignoring people. You know, I have been on the opposite end of that. I've had people ignoring me in the past, and I know how much it stings, and I really don't like doing that to other people. So I did my best to respond at the earliest opportunities. Sometimes I was busy and I genuinely couldn't get to my desk to respond, but as soon as I could, I would, you know, fire back a message, not just a one-word answer, but I'd actually try and put some thought into it. Because again, I respect people enough to offer them the same courtesy that I would expect from people in general. So anyway, however, it got to the point where I would receive 3 design ideas per day instead of the 1 per person per pledge that I was originally expecting. And again, when I set up the rewards, I wanted people to get involved, but I did make it clear that I didn't have the time to respond to people all the time. And again, that could lead to I could just ignore some messages, but I really, really do not like doing that. So it was, in my head, I kind of had it as people would go away, think about it for a bit. Most people probably wouldn't be interested in that sort of thing. They were genuinely doing it just to show support. But those that were, they would go away, think about it, come up with some ideas, and all I would have to do is apply them to the network. So I wouldn't have to do much work. And, you know, time saving. That's what it was all about. None of these designs that I received fitted with the rest of the network. And none of these designs were realistic examples, something I had already explained in the first instance. So if you watch my series, particularly if you watch the end of the Majeffries network, we did a whole series of, I think it was about 8 episodes, called the Realism Initiative, and we carried that on right into the M4J network. And the idea was very simply to rebuild the whole of the M4J network to real life standards, so real speed limits, real curve, radii, that kind of thing. The designs that I received as part of this Patreon pledge did not do that at all. And again, it's really difficult. Because it wasn't just the Patreon side of things, it was also the design contest that I held for Fort Flonwood Parkway. And again, I'll talk about that in a little bit in more detail. But after reading through the 8th design from the same person for Fort Flonwood Parkway, I realised that this had to stop. So I brought things to an end, and by that I mean the competition is technically still open, but the rules have changed, and the same has happened for Patreon. The fact that this individual then ended their Patreon pledge made me realise that I need to value my time more, as people think if they pay someone then they become their boss. And again, I do understand how jobs work, don't get me wrong. If someone's employing you and paying you money, then yes, they're technically your boss. But, as I said, YouTube content creation and Patreon was not originally set up so that people can pay you to tell you what to do in your videos. That's not what it was originally for. Some people have created that concept through their own Patreon pages. And one of the things I personally like about Patreon is it is tailor-made to whatever you want it to be. So if you're an artist, people can buy your work. Or if they support you on Patreon, they get a copy of your artwork as, you know, their reward. Some people just do a logo on a t-shirt and a signed postcard, which I also think is perfectly fine, perfectly acceptable. It's something that I personally would actually do with people that I am fans of. I would support them on Patreon and quite happily receive that in return, because I think it's a really nice gesture. But some people don't offer anything in return for the money, and that's also fine, because that's what originally Patreon was for. So, although the Patreon tier rewards are remaining as they are, nothing's changing. I'm not upping the limits or lowering the limits, and I'm not actually changing any of the individual rewards. New terms are now being introduced in order to make things more clear. So these new rewards, rules, terms, whatever you want to call them, include: number one, patrons can only unlock their rewards after 3 consecutive months of rewards. That is the same as it always has been. The reason being is I don't want just someone to pay me $1, tell me what to do, and then disappear off into the sunset. You have to support me for 3 consecutive months. So if you start supporting me now, so we're now in April, so let's say beginning of next month. So May, June, July, at the end of July, you can unlock your rewards. If you've supported me in the past, and you, for whatever reason, had to end your pledge, but you decide in the future that you want to support me again, I still have you on record. And you will only need to support me for 2 consecutive months instead of 3. And again, that's just so that people don't just pay me, tell me what to do, and then disappear. There has to be some kind of commitment involved, because I'm offering quite a lot in terms of my time and in terms of like my brand. So I do need to make up for it. Number 2. Once patrons have unlocked their rewards, they can only make 1 request per month. And when I say that, I mean 1 message with outlining what requests they want. So this request can consist of multiple smaller requests, but must all be sent in a single email. Any email sent after this first message but before the next month will not be responded to and will not be applied to whatever rewards they have chosen. So for example, as soon as your 3 months are up and you've unlocked the ability to claim your rewards, you will get an email from me. You don't even have to respond to the email if you don't want to. If there's no rewards that you like, I would prefer it if you said thank you, but there are no rewards I would like, just so I can tick that off the list. But that's the email that you will respond to, and you respond with 1 message, and you can list as many of those rewards that you've unlocked as you wish, but only the ones that you have unlocked. Don't try and steal some from the tier above, because I will know. And after that message has been sent, any further messages that you send will not be applied. And that's because I do not have the time to read through all of these emails. If, however, after a month you wish to change your pledge to a higher or lower amount, you are free to do so, and your rewards will be adjusted accordingly at the end of that month. So again, if you support me now, May, June, that's not right. May, June, July. So at the beginning of August, if you decide that you can't afford the, let's say, $15 a month and you'd like to do 10 instead, you are free to do that. You will keep your rewards till the end of August, and then it will be adjusted. So it will always carry on till the end of the next month. But also at the end of May, if you decide that actually one of the names you chose you didn't like, you are free to change it. Just send me a new email. It has to be during the next month. It can't be during the same month. And then it will be adjusted, and I will of course reply and tell you so. Number 3, Any requests made by patrons are purely suggestive. I have the final say on what does and does not get included, and I also have the right to veto any ideas or designs that I feel would not fit in with my designs, ideas, morals, and branding. This is important. This is very important. So again, just because you're paying me $20 a month does not mean you can tell me to use the F word in a town name. That's not going to happen. Also, if you're making, so let's say OpenTTD, because it's the easiest example. If you have 3 areas of Bar City that you can rename, and you decide to call them really weird and wacky names, I have the power to say, actually, I don't think that will fit in with what I'm going for with this series. And that's that. You know, I don't want to reject people's ideas, because again, I like innovation, I like novelty, I like just people coming up with ideas. I think it's brilliant. It's the reason the world is in such an advanced stage right now. But at the same time, I don't want people to take advantage of the system. And hopefully you guys appreciate that too. Number 4, and this is the most important one for me. I value my time. Actually, 3 and 4 are the most important ones for me. I value my time very highly. If your request would take multiple hours to fulfill, I may ask for it to be adapted or refined further. This is instead of asking for a higher Patreon pledge. So if you only pledge $10 a month and you ask for something that would take too long to implement, instead of me asking you to increase your pledge to $15, $20 or $25 a month, I will instead ask you to adapt the idea to something that's more in fitting with the time that I have available. The reason I do this, I would rather not have to ask for more money unless it's absolutely necessary. However, my wage is a lot higher than $20 per month for a 5-hour project. The minimum wage in the UK for people my age, I think, is £7.83, which means for a 5-hour project, you in theory have to pay me at least £40 before I listen to your idea. I'm obviously not doing that. I'm doing it for £20 a month. But just bear in mind that it has to be something that's time-fitting. So the problem I had with the previous Patreon debacle was I spent about 30 hours working on the requests that I was given, and 30 times 7, £200, give or take. That's how much I should have been asking for in order to do all that, but I didn't, and that was one of the problems. So Patreon was a bit of a disaster, but hopefully we move on and we learn from it. And I want to make it as transparent as possible for everyone so that there's no future misunderstandings, because I do admit my mistakes as well. I should have worded myself a little bit better at various points, and hopefully I have now done that. The next point is burnout, and this is something I did mention briefly above. So as stated previously, I have suffered a lot from burnout this year. Last year was a bad year for me personally. I won't dwell on it too much. But even graduating from university after being there for 6 years and studying 3 different degree courses, I did manage to graduate, and you'd think that would be a euphoric moment. But there was a lot of other stuff going on in the background, some of which I have discussed in the past actually, family bereavements, all that kind of thing. The channel was a good escape, let's put it that way. M4J Gaming was a really good way to just get away from life and immerse myself in fictional worlds. Therefore, I was constantly developing new ideas, many of which still haven't actually made it to screen. A lot of the ideas I've got rely on resources that I do not yet have access to. And I know that sounds very mysterious, but it's money at the end of the day. It's all about money. So the ideas that I have developed are things like bringing back the M4J network. That's something that I was planning to do since the day I decided to end the McJeffries network. Cities in Motion 2 did come back for a while as well. That's now since ended again, mainly because of hardware-software issues. Also because the viewership wasn't great, but I won't dwell on that right now. My creativity, however, only lasts for so long, and recently it has died down quite a bit. And a good example of this is the Fort Flonwood Parkway design competition idea, which was I want to build a new interchange station on the M4J network, but I just couldn't think of a way to build the station myself. All the design ideas that I had didn't work for various different reasons. So I came up with the idea to run a competition where you guys could design the station for me. And again, when I came up with the idea, I was kind of relying on the fact that people who would enter the competition knew the series, they knew my building style, and they could design something that would fit that quite nicely. But as I've already said above, I think it was 8 different designs that I got from the same person, none of which were obviously based on the network, which is quite worrying. Maybe I'm not as obvious as I thought I was, which is kind of a good thing, I guess. Predictable, I think's the word. But with only one entry so far, and that entry not fulfilling the criteria, I have since created my own design, which if you go onto my Reddit community, reddit.com/r/m4j_gaming, you'll be able to see my design, which will most likely be the one that's used. But if anyone else wishes to design a variation of it still, you're more than welcome to do so. And I am actually hoping that someone creates a better design than mine. Because, not to sound big-headed, but my design does fit all the criteria that I set out, and you kind of would expect the person that sets the criteria to also be able to fulfill it. But I kind of created my design to show people what it was I was actually looking for, rather than just to say, I've created a competition, I'm entering it, and I'm winning it. Because where's the fun in that? So yeah, if you want to submit an idea, you're free to do so. You can upload an image to my Reddit community, make sure that you put in the heading what it is, a little bit of a description. If there's different coloured lines or dotted lines or whatever, make sure there's a legend that explains what each thing denotes. But go to town. 1 entry per person. Now, it used to be unlimited, but again, after the 8th or 9th time, with no real changes made to the design, 1 entry per person. Just, again, time. Do not have the time. I'm also planning on playing more games on the channel that are story driven, so I do not need to be as creative. In the past I have played games like Watch Dogs, Fallout 4, Assassin's Creed Syndicate, and I've never finished them, and that's my own fault, because particularly open world games like that, I kind of get a bit overwhelmed as to where to go next, and sometimes I just want to play the game for fun. And I do get that with a story driven game, particularly Assassin's Creed, there was like a week where I hadn't recorded, and then I started recording again, and the storyline has progressed so much. Someone who's new to the game might just think, oh, this is a rubbish story, because it suddenly jumped forward however long. But in truth, it's because I was playing the game in the background, because I really enjoyed playing it. So I do need to sort of discipline myself a bit more on that. I'm also going to play games that are a bit more linear. So I have got A Way Out somewhere, which I need to get my brother a new Xbox so he can play it with me. That's a really good game, co-op game. Plus me and the XVI guys are chatting about some other ideas that I could do for either XVI or M4J. So stay tuned for that. The opposite is happening with the XVI channel, as I've just said. All videos on the XVI YouTube channel, the link to which will be in the description, have been created and edited by me. So the editing style is quite similar, but the tone and identity are very different. I do feel less constrained when working for XVI, as the easiest way to explain it is M4J, I am my own boss, so I decide my content. But I decided way back at the start, there is some swearing on my channel from time to time, particularly when I'm playing GTA, particularly when there's a lot of people on a Discord call, because I do ask the guys to not swear as much, but we get caught up in the moment, so we all end up swearing. But I tend to focus on family-friendly content, whereas XVI is a bit less strict in that respect. So Ben, who's the CEO of XVI, he kind of sets the rules, and he's done a very good job of setting like a free-flowing format that I can go with. Plus, I have a very good working relationship with both Ben and Kurt, who are technically both my bosses. And they allow me to flex my creative muscles, as it were. So the very first video on the XVI channel, the Meet the Team, that was actually an idea that I had way back when the company was founded, as a fun way to introduce us all to you guys, the viewers. And fortunately, as I said, I've got 2 very good understanding bosses, and they let me do it. So some of the statements in that video are a little bit harsh on some people. We actually had an open forum where all members of the company could write things about each other. I think it was quite a good team building process myself. But I do feel more freedom on XVI, because I do understand that you guys have obviously subscribed to my channel for a reason, You expect a certain standard and a certain level with each video, and I do my best to try and hit that level each time. If I don't feel like I've made that level, then the video doesn't go out. So there's a whole series that I recorded on the forest, which has never been published because I felt it fell short of the standards that I've set and you guys come to expect. I also feel on my on the XVI channel, sorry, because it's still quite new and we're trying to find our feet, I can experiment a little bit more with editing styles and things like that. Which again is not a bad thing. I like the fact that M4J does rein it in a little bit, and I like the fact that I do have a whole group of people that sort of keep me grounded in that respect. But then I also like the fact with XVI I can just go a bit nuts from time to time. And again, that leads me on to my final point, which is frustration. My frustrations with the channel have grown a lot since the start of the year. The subscriber count has still risen. And it has still risen in line with the growth from last year. So actually it's risen even more today. 956 subscribers at the time of recording, which might not be accurate on your sub count, but the count that I've got is a live data feed. And it's telling me 956 subscribers. It was 954 when I wrote the script for this video. However, although the subscriber count has risen in line with the growth from last year, the audience interaction has fallen considerably. So for example, the latest video on the channel, Guard City Project, episode 20, no likes. The M4J Network, episode 16.5, 3 likes. Football Manager, episode 2, no likes. And it goes on and on. M4J Golf Resort number 5, 1 like. M4J Network number 16, 2 likes. M4J Factory number 11, no likes. The view count is high enough that I would anticipate more than 1 like. And to put that in context, I run both channels, so I have the data for XVI's YouTube channel as well. First podcast, 49 views, 6 likes. Second podcast, 23 views, 5 likes. Third podcast, 15 views, 6 likes. You can see what I mean about the consistency not being there. The comment section was disabled as a result of over 2 years of negativity with no positive support at all. And again, I wasn't going through a great period of my life at the time, so just having one person saying, "Hey man, nice video," would have made a massive difference. But instead it was literally 2 years of just constant, unnecessary negativity. No support at all shown through the comments. Those that wish to comment on my videos can still do so over on my Reddit community, and again the link is in the description, but be aware that constant negativity will not be tolerated. One of the reasons I encourage you guys to comment on my Reddit community is I have more freedom with hiding comments and I don't want to use the word, but blocking people than I do on YouTube. YouTube is a bit harder to actually do that. It is okay to say that you don't like my content. The best way to do that is to hit the dislike button, because that's still interaction and it still tells me that you don't like the video. Some people have various reasons for not liking content, whether it's the audio's too loud, the audio's too quiet, the video's too grainy, or if the content itself, so whatever game I'm playing or whatever style I'm building in, whatever it might be, just doesn't fit with what they're looking for, and that is perfectly fine. It is okay to say you don't like my content. I am just one channel out of millions on YouTube. The problem I had was the same people that claimed to like my videos and my content were also the ones who were criticizing me for minute details. And I've always had this thing in my life where if I want to criticize someone, I have to ask myself first, what do I have to back myself up in those instances? And with YouTube, I used to keep quiet because I didn't have much experience on YouTube content creation. Whereas now I've got, I think it's 6.5 years now I've been on YouTube. I still don't know what I'm doing half the time, but I do know enough buzzwords and key terms that I do spot mistakes in videos, and I still don't say anything, even though I have the experience now to back up my statements, because people do make mistakes. But when I have people who I know have no experience in content creation and no idea how much work goes into making a video, it frustrates me a lot. And again, OpenTTD is a good example. Each episode of the M4J network, whether it's a 20-minute video of me rebuilding the approaches to Guard City St. Mark's Station, or whether it's a 2-hour live stream of me basically what looks like winging it and just building this, that, and the other. Each one of those videos, from concept through recording, editing, rendering, uploading, publishing, all that kind of thing, takes on average 15 hours. Sometimes it takes 5 hours, sometimes it takes 25 hours, but on average 15 hours from concept right the way through to uploading. An hour-long episode takes 3 hours to render. The general rule of thumb, maybe it's just my PC, but the general rule of thumb is if the video is 20 minutes long, it takes 3 times as long to render. That means if there is a small sync issue with the audio, so if it's out by just a tiny bit, it takes me 4 hours to fix it, maximum, because that includes taking the old video down, amending the audio. That probably takes about half an hour to do those two things, and then re-rendering it, which takes 3 hours, and then uploading it again, which could take up to an hour. So I will not spend 4 hours correcting something as small as that. If half the video is just a green screen, I will fix it. But mistakes happen, especially when running to a tight schedule like I haven't for a while, but I used to. So getting weekly videos out is a lot harder than you think, particularly if you don't have time to record during the week. I really, like, 4 AM some nights I was up, still trying to get a video finished for the next day. It's not good for your health, basically. So being constantly reminded of making mistakes like that is not appreciated. Like I said, there are other channels out there, so if you can't watch my videos because there's a 0.01 second desync in the audio, go watch someone else's content, because I'm sure there's a perfectionist out there who can make videos to your obviously high standard. Likewise, the ratio of views to likes has also dropped, as I've said. This needs to preferably increase soon, as if the channel starts to become successful again, so if we get close to 1,000 subscribers, I will start putting more time into it again, because 1,000 subscribers is the benchmark, and if I can hit that, I get my monetization status back, and I'm actually willing then to put more time into YouTube, because it will literally pay off. So as I said, the channel's not dying, it's just going through a phase of change at the moment. I hope that those who enjoy watching my content will stick with me through this, and I also hope that these changes that we're making will help attract a new audience that will assist the channel in achieving its potential. So like I said, get into the golden 1,000. For now though, I have prioritized XVI as it is a growing company with good people working very hard on innovative projects. And again, I can't reveal too much at the moment, so it does look like I'm in the dark about it. I am not, I promise you. I attend every XVI meeting. I know exactly who's working on what, when, and why. And as soon as we have news, again, I am the content creator for XVI, so as soon as we have update videos or anything like that, I know about it even before the CEO knows about it at times. For those who watch my content for me, personally, as if you like me as a content creator, I do encourage you to check out the XVI YouTube channel, as pretty much every video on that channel will have me in it at some point. I do host a weekly podcast, as I said. There's 3 types of podcasts we have. There's the general chaotic discussion, so us playing Minecraft in episode 2. There's the sort of open forum discussion like we have in episode 1 and coming up in episode 4 this week. And then there's the Q&A style session that episodes 3 and also episode 5, which will be out next week, will also cover. We're also interested in feedback, so again, if you like podcasts and you like my channel, I do highly suggest you check out the XVI channel. Comments are enabled on XVI, so you can leave some feedback down below. What other stuff? Oh yes, this is the other important thing. There is actually content ready to be uploaded to the M4J channel. So I have been working on stuff still behind the scenes, but I'm currently waiting for the time to be able to record a second batch of videos before I publish this first batch. The M4J Factory, which is on Factorio, I've got, I think it's 13 episodes that I'm sitting on at the moment. They're not really going up on the channel yet. The reason that's the case is because I couldn't decide whether I wanted to upload daily or whether I wanted to upload sort of every other day. And again, because 13 videos only really lasts 2 weeks. So I need to find time to record another 13 Factorio videos for the next 2 weeks, and so on and so on. That was supposed to be this week. I was supposed to be recording videos this week, but I do still have to edit the XVI podcast. And I've also had a cold for the last few days, which meant that only really today has my voice been good enough that I can record this video. So recording other videos was just unfeasible. Time lapses, yes, and I have been recording some time lapses, but overall I couldn't really record much whilst I've had this cold, and particularly the cough, which thankfully has sort of died down a little bit whilst I've been talking here. And I know that I tweeted last week and put on Facebook and I think Reddit that there would be videos this week, and I do apologise for that. At the time I tweeted that, I was in good health, and then over the weekend I caught the cold. So, in future, I will only tweet when a video is actually uploaded on the channel and scheduled to be published, so that I do not disappoint viewers. I do urge you all to follow me on Twitter and Reddit, as well as join my Reddit community. You can also join my Facebook page. I do try and keep that updated with all my tweets. I do have a little bit of a spat with Facebook still, where they won't let me change the name of the page, so it does still say Majeffries, but at least it's got my logos and stuff on it. I do suggest that Reddit is the place to go to, though, because you can leave your own posts on my Reddit community. You can ask me questions about the channel, the series, my interests, your interests, all that kind of thing. As for the current series that are running on the channel, the M4J network will be switching to a new format in the near future. As I said, it's not going away, but 2 hours to record videos and then edit it into a time lapse, I don't really have the time to do that. So I will be switching to a more live stream style format. If I'm not up for live streaming, then instead I will make a video in that time. So it will be an hour and a half to 2 hours on a Thursday evening at the normal time the videos go live, which is 8 p.m. GMT or 8 p.m. BST, British Standard Time. British Summer Time, sorry, not Standard. And I don't even know what the time differences are in the world at the moment, but there's websites where you can look it up. Whatever time you're used to seeing the M4J network go up on YouTube, that'll be the time that the stream starts. I will try and schedule the stream at least a day before the start of the stream, so that you guys can set reminders and not miss the beginning. And then once it's streamed, it goes up on the channel, so if you do miss the stream for whatever reason, you can always catch up by watching it back afterwards. And as I said, if I'm not up to making a live stream in that time, I'll use those 2 hours to record a time lapse, and then that will go up as a video the next week. The M4J Factory, as I said, there's loads of episodes that are waiting to go up. That will be uploaded more than once a week now. I think it'll be 2 or 3 times a week. I'll let you guys know on Reddit when that happens. The M4J Golf Resort will also be returning very soon, because there's been some really exciting updates to Resort Boss Golf. The dev team, the developer, I think it's just one guy at the moment, he's doing an excellent job with that game. Every time I play it, it's more and more fun, more and more enjoyable. So a huge shout out, Resort Boss Golf. Check it out on Steam if you haven't done so already. And yeah, the M4J Golf Resort will be returning very soon. I'm going to try and use that format the same as the M4J Factory, so more than one episode a week. Global Ventures is also coming back. That is my Planet Coaster series. All new rides and areas of the park are being built and have been built, and with the new DLC, including the Magnificent Rides pack and the Classic Rides pack, some of the existing areas have been touched up with some of the Theme Maker's Toolkit scenery that's been released as well. And some of the existing rides have either been upgraded to the new DLC rides or have been fixed with some of the free update amendments to rides that have been released. And again, some people complain, but I think Frontier have done a fantastic job with Global Ventures, and Frontier have actually announced a sequel to Planet Coaster now called Planet Zoo. If people want to see me play that on the channel, then do let me know, because Zoo Tycoon was one of my favourite games growing up. I didn't mention that in the XVI podcast because I felt like I could go on for hours about loads of different games, but Zoo Tycoon is another game from my childhood that I enjoyed playing, so I'll be more than happy to make that for M4J. The Guard City project is a bit of a difficult one because I am still working on it behind the scenes. I'm coming up with ideas. The problem I have at the moment is my hardware can't support the version of Minecraft that I play it on. It gets too stuttery. So I might turn that into like a blog series instead and just do text and image updates rather than a video. And the final one is Spyro. Spyro will be back one day. I've kind of got a love-hate relationship with the Reignited trilogy at the moment, but I do still get misty-eyed when I think of Spyro, and I do want to complete the Reignited trilogy. So that will sort of be an as and when type series. Seasonal is the term they use in the theme park industry, and I think that's what I'm going to use here as well. So whenever I get the chance to sit down and play some Spyro, I'll cut it up into 5 episodes, and you guys will get to watch it. And the most anticipated series return is the M4J Racing Series Season 2. Applications are open, by the way. If you have an Xbox One and GTA 5, you can apply to join the racing series. There are some terms and conditions that you do have to agree to, but again, I will try and post all the details or the links to the details in the description down below, such as the rules, the regulations, the requirements, and also the racing and vehicle indexes, so you get to see the kind of things that we're working with. That will start once we have enough competitors, because currently it's just the 4 of us still, myself, Josh, Kurt and Alex. I would like to get sort of 8 people a week racing. That's kind of my benchmark, but anything up to 20 would be great. So we'll have to see about that. But yeah, do check the description for that as well, because it's another exciting way to get involved with M4J. The future is positive for M4J. We just need the right attitude and the right response. So I do need the audience to do their bit, which is to hit the like button, share the channel, or if you don't like the content, hit the dislike button, and I know that I need to up my game for the next episode. Thank you for watching. Sorry this has been quite a long video. I think this is the longest take I've done so far. But as it turns out, there was actually quite a lot to talk about. Some of it good, some of it not so good, but you know, I want to be honest with you guys. That's the main thing, because a lot of content creators do say they don't owe their audience anything. And in terms of actual content, I do feel like I don't really owe anyone anything. But when I do have loyal supporters and loyal viewers and subscribers who are probably wondering where I've gone, I do feel like I at least owe an explanation as to why that is. So hopefully you guys know the reasons now. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoy the content. Maybe not on this video because it's not the most jolly subject, but on all the other videos, if you haven't gone and hit the like button yet, please do go back onto the playlists and just hit the like button. Even if you then move on to the next video, that's absolutely fine. But it really does mean a lot when people take the literal 10 seconds it takes to hit the like button. Particularly on an hour-long video, you can spare 10 seconds. Likewise, if you haven't already subscribed, then be sure to hit the subscribe button, as that also means a lot. Let's get to 1,000. Big changes will happen when we get to 1,000, I promise you now. If you have already subscribed, thank you for your continued support. And until next time, guys, I will most definitely see you soon.